have to be sneaky. Because today, we're talking about one of the most secretive racing teams in Japan, in the whole world ever. If you noticed about the thumbnail, the 3 cars that are on that thumbnail, you might know what we're talking about today. Or maybe you don't, but that's why you're here. Let's find out. Yes, sir! Now, this team is a team that many of us have heard about, but not really know about. It has been very difficult to try to uncover any sort of secrets or trades about this team because they have been one of the top secret, most inconspicuous racing teams the world has ever seen, okay? This team was none other than Team Midnight, the most illegal street racing team in Japan. Now, this team was started in around 1985 to 87 when most of the coolest JDM cars were coming out, like the Skyline, GTR, and the Supra. And with all these brand new cars came great new tuners over in Japan, which, by the way, maybe, just maybe, that many of these tuners, owners of these tuner shops, were a part of Team Midnight. I didn't say it. That's just what I read. I mean, and during this time, a lot of different teams would come out, and all these teams would have like their own tuner, and they would even manufacture their own parts to try and be the fastest team, you know, in Japan. So a lot of these teams, like I said, did have a bunch of their in staff doing a lot of these things like racing teams have today. But instead of like professionals, it was labeled as more of just like kind of like a ragtag team of people. Like, they ain't really ragtag, that's a little bad to say, but weren't completely mechanics, you know, but like they kind of did this as a hobby. And so that's kind of why, kind of harder to track down as well, because they weren't considered professionals. And many different teams had different goals. Like some teams, they would rather street drift, or some teams would rather just do autocross, or, you know, just cruise, or some even showroom cars. But Team Midnight, okay, they were about one thing only. They were focused on maximum velocity, okay? And don't believe my word for it, believe this quote right here. They said, "Drifting and autocross is for the weak. We do maximum velocity." And I'm sure they sounded just like that, you know what I'm saying? And they would test their maximum velocity either on the Wangan, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that one right totally, or on the Bay Shore kind of expressway, I guess, kind of like a highway, kind of like an interstate we have here. That's where they would test out their maximum velocity. And they would usually meet at a Yokohama gas station at midnight, of course, hence the name. And they would race on the Bay Shore route all the way up to Tokyo at another gas station where they would conclude, or they would just come right back, you know, hitting maximum velocity. Like I mentioned previously, they use a lot of JDM cars like the Mazda RX-7, Nissan GTR, Nissan Z's, and of course the Skyline. But the two most notorious cars, which actually had a manga written about them, were the 1979 Porsche 930 Turbo. Okay, and starting out, it doesn't sound like that sick of a car, you know, or like it's a sick car. Okay, let me rephrase that. But it wasn't really what they were like. The style, I guess, was back in Japan during these times. Like I said, a lot of them were like JDM strict cars, not from Germany. But Team Midnight actually called these something special. It's called the Yoshida Special 930 Turbos, and these things were fast, man. Like, I'm telling you, fast. And this article that I read from a website called Drive Tribe actually said that it could hit up to 211 miles per hour. Many of us can't even fathom 211 miles per hour. Like, I see a lot of hellcats and Durangos and demons on Instagram trying their best to get them horsies up, but they just, I've never seen them hit 211 on the interstate. I mean, I've seen them get 160, 180, but I've never seen them hit above 200. Maybe I'm wrong, prove me wrong, but I've never even seen that happen before. And this car was easily able to maintain over 185 miles per hour for at least over 15 minutes, which is actually pretty impressive considering most cars would redline at that speed, and going for 15 minutes that fast for a red line, I don't know about that. And the other car that had a chance to rival its German counterparts would be the 280Z. And this car was able to keep up with it. It could hit around 209 to 213 as well. Couldn't really find how long it could maintain high speeds for, but I'd imagine if it's competing with the Blackbird, it's pretty solid, okay? But you know, like I said earlier, it's a top secret clan, so how does one get into this team, all right? It's gotta be pretty difficult, and it is. Let me just go ahead and let you know. The first thing is you actually need a car, and I'm not talking about any car. You need a car that can go at least 160 miles per hour. And that's just at least, okay? Like my car right now, the cap's out at 140. Trust me, I would never be going that fast. But 160, just to have a car that can go 160, for these times too, keep in mind. Like not today, but back then, having a car that could go that fast, just insane. And if you wanted to be a competitive driver for the team, like go out and race at midnight against other teams, you would have to be able to maintain, okay? Not just be able to hit, maintain 200 miles per hour. Okay, and that's just insane to even think about. 200 miles an hour. 200. I mean, like, why? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why would anyone really want to be able to do that? I mean, 200 miles an hour, insanity. And many cars during this time had governors on them to keep them from being able to even go past like 114 miles an hour. So if you really wanted to have 160 miles an hour, you had to be a good mechanic, which of course, like I mentioned earlier, you got to be able to know what you're doing with the car to be able to tune it, to be able to go to these speeds and just keep up with the team, I guess, because no one wants a slacker on their team, you know what I'm saying? So, and even if you made it this far, you haven't even made it in the team yet. Out of 10 participants, only one of them will ever get selected. So they have a pretty tough criterion, and actually it turned out that at the most there were only around 30 members in the team as a whole. So being able to be one of those top 30, you got to be one of the best drivers in Japan, to be honest with you. But let's just say you made it. Okay, hypothetically, you made it to the team, but then the first day, big boss comes walking in and he hands you a book, okay? What is this book? The book that all Team Midnight drivers have to follow at all times. If you don't follow by these rules, you're immediately kicked out of the team, banned for life. Arguably, one of the most important rules for the team and just for driving in general was you can never, under any circumstances, danger another driver, any bystanders, or even come close to endangering anybody on the road. Which I think that's a very important rule. I mean, hey, if you're watching this video, drive safe everywhere. Okay, not just if you're in Team Midnight, drive safe everywhere. But I think that's a really important rule considering these guys are going upwards to 200 miles an hour. I mean, you gotta be alert, you gotta be on the addies or something, man. I don't even know how would you be able to focus going that fast. And then another rule that I saw was that on Donut Media's podcast Past Gas, they said that all cars, whenever they're doing their quick runs, they had to have their brights on. And they had to be a bright colored car so that cars looking in their rearview mirror would be able to see them a lot better. And another real important rule with the club, and it's the reason we don't have a lot of information on it today, is because they make all their members stay anonymous to each other. They happened on a first name basis. That's the only way they knew by each other. They never spoke about people's jobs, people's family. Like, no small talk really was within the team. You know how they usually have small talk, you want to talk to people. Not in this team. Might as well just leave, get out of here. Because that ain't how they did it right here. And it actually turned out only 2 people ever got outed for their job within the team, because in a 1995 Max Power article revealed that one of them was a property developer and the other one owned a car dealership. Kind of ironic, you know what I'm saying? And I actually think this is actually a pretty funny rule. So if you see anybody else on the road or when you go to the grocery store, if you see anybody else with the Team Midnight sticker, if you're actually on the team, you are obligated to go rip that sticker off because they don't do fraudsters. But to conclude this story, there's one rule I didn't mention. That's because I was saving it for the conclusion. And it was if anybody ever died from this team, whether it be a bystander, member, or just somebody else, in a motor accident, the team would immediately disband. And unfortunately, that did happen for them. This happened in 1999 when the Bozu Zoku, I'm probably butchering that one as well, and when they knew Team Midnight was doing some runs, so they decided to go out and just mess with them. And this led to them going into a high-speed sort of chase with them, which Bozuzoku led them into a trafficked area, which I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Allegedly, they were drunk. I read that in an article somewhere. This would then lead to a crash that injured 10 people. 2 people in the biker gang that caused the chase. 6 people just in a wreck that were just driving, trying to get to their job. And 2 members of Team Midnight, they would all injure themselves and others trying to go out. And like I mentioned before, the rule is when someone dies, the team disbands. Allegedly, all the team members still meet up together, at least all the ones that are still alive and doing well. They'll actually still meet up at cafes or restaurants and just talk to each other. Just, get to know each other more, check up on people, make sure they're doing all good. And honestly, I think that's a solid way to end it. They decided to stop taking risks of injuring people and just started to do things how they know and just have fun and just talk to each other. But it was later actually alleged that a lot of the racers for Team Midnight were the owners of tuner shops in the area, which, I mean, makes sense. The top dog wants his best car. Why not just open a tuner shop and have it as like a facade, I guess, to the police and the public? I think that's just an interesting thing to think about. Man, if you guys enjoyed this video, it's been your boy Dawson. Make sure to follow us on all the socials. Links will be down below in the description. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay sliding. Peace out. Yes, sir.